What is up, people at Deluxe Productions, and things are starting to get a little jazzy in here, eh? Anyway, I'm going to be reviewing something that's not Bayformers for once, rather traveling back in time to the good old days of the Transformers, 1986 to be specific. And of course, we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Jazz. The painting on this figure is kinda minimal, but the sculpting is top notch for as basic of a design as this. It's pretty much just bumping up the G1 design with modern mecha aesthetics, which I do think works well if you know what you're doing, in the very least. Now let me touch base with something real quick that is probably a nitpick to a lot of people, that is hollow parts. Which on this figure specifically, the hollow pieces don't really bother me all that much. That's more than I can say for Studio Series Sideways. I mean, it's mainly just the insides of the thighs, the backs of the legs as well, and the insides of the forearms, which is understandable because it's necessary for the transformation, which at some angles, some of these hollow pieces aren't really visible, but the thigh gaps won't really go away. But if you are super picky about hollowness on modern Transformers toys, which is kind of a common thing unfortunately, I'm sure there's an upgrade kit that can help fix that issue. And of course I gotta talk about that head sculpt, which is basically just a spitting image of his G1 animation model. I even think they dealt with the backpack pretty well, and I don't know if this is animation accurate or not since it has been a while since I've watched G1, but from what I remember, I do believe this is somewhat animation accurate. Now as far as accessories go, he really only comes with this very tune-accurate G1 Energon blaster, which can be plugged into his hand or can be stored on his back like Ironhide from Transformers 3. And that's really all you get with this figure. No comically oversized speakers or anything like that. I mean, for the price of a Deluxe, I guess it's not terrible. Though it's not anything like 86 Hot Rod, and I'm honestly okay with that. What a way to inflate prices, Hasbro! Now it's time to cover the articulation. So there is a ball joint at the head, which can rotate the full 360. Can look up that far and down that far, with a little bit of head pivot as well. Rotation at the shoulder that can go a full 360. The arms can move out, and you can also utilize the transformation hinge to move it out a little further. Bicep swivel, bend at the elbow, and as far as the wrist goes, you only get the transformation hinge. An unhindered waist swivel, rotation at the leg which can move forward that far, can move back that far, and almost the full splits. Type thigh swivels, bend at the knee, and if you utilize the transformation hinge, you could get this guy to kneel. There is no upward toe movement, but there is downward toe movement, which is more for the transformation. And finally, a really good ankle pivot. Pulsability on this guy is pretty good for the first figure of the Studio Series 86 subline. Though of course he is missing proper wrist articulation, and I wish the feet could move up and down as well, but he is pretty well articulated nonetheless. Now it's transformation time! The transformation in just 3 words, simple and straightforward. And the 1980 Martini Porsche 935 Turbo Race Car mode is great! This vehicle mode is basically a perfect recreation of both the real-life vehicle and the animation car blended into one. Although the only drawback in this all mode is that the feet are visible on the rear bumper of the car, which I don't believe is accurate to the real vehicle, which I believe might be slightly more accurate to a 1987 Porsche 911, which Stephen Cable Jr. seriously ripped off Jazz and Rise of the Beasts with Mirage. Identity theft is not a joke, Mirage! Well, despite that minor detail, this is a near dead-on recreation of the real car. But now, let me show you a quick comparison with the other Studio Series Jazz, which this was years of Academy training wasted! Now, this Studio Series G1 inspired Jazz is a pretty sizable figure overall. And speaking of which, now it's time for size comparisons, and Jazz here, once again, is decently sizable for a Deluxe class figure. Now here's Studio Series 86 Jazz compared next to the Figma Kyoko Sakura and Kamiki, Figma Saber 2.0, Studio Series Dark of the Moon Shockwave, SH Monster Arts Bio Goji, NPM Barricade, Earthrise Starscream, Earthrise Wheeljack, the other Studio Series Jazz, Just Because Studio Series Sideways, my last review New Age Mista, and once again, the Figma Jeanne d'Arc. Now, as far as the box goes, you get the transparent window when it was still a thing, some noise box art of Jazz, 8601 Transformers the movie, officially licensed Hasbro and Takara product. On this side, you get Jazz, and of course, authentic Transformers! On this side, you get Studio Series 8601 with some noise box art of Jazz in 4 different languages of Deluxe class. On the top, Transformers the movie. On the bottom, useless things and barcodes. And on the back, you get the product shots, Transformers in 20 steps, Autobot Jazz, Moonbase 1 Destruction, and now on with my concluding thoughts on Series 86 Jazz. For the first entry of a new subline, this guy is really well done. Obviously, not without its flaws, but even then, this pretty much got the design down to a T, super animation accurate, very posable, and can transform it into a really accurate race car. Now, where you can purchase this guy, and the price of admission. This figure is being sold on Amazon.com, Walmart, Hasbro Pulse, and he's actually sold on a Big Bad Toy Store, but he is for the usual deluxe price point of roughly $25. But would I recommend this guy? If you are a G1 fan or just a Transformers fan in general, then I would say yes. Even though this isn't my preferred Jazz, that honor would have to go to 2007 Jazz, he is still a great one nonetheless. So that officially concludes my review on the Transformers Series 86 Jazz, and as always, we'll see you all in my next video. Peace out!